300 grand can get you a Lamborghini Urus or the hospital bill from driving it. The choice is in your zaddy. A 17-year-old son of a multi-millionaire businessman pulls up in a black Lamborghini Urus, which was gifted by his dad on his 16th birthday. On one peaceful afternoon, he took the car out for a ride. He hits the gas. The Lamborghini jumps forward with 600 horsepower, tearing through the street like the lane and traffic don't exist. At that same time, a woman in a silver Lexus was crossing at the next light, driving home after work. Her name is Monique Munoz. At the intersection, far away, a Lambo was coming at over 100 miles per hour, slammed hard into the crossing car. Inside, the boy spins like a washing machine and skids another 200 feet before stopping. The Lexus was torn open, then crashed to a tree nearby. The front half of the Lamborghini was unrecognizable. Same with the woman inside the Lexus. Luckily, the boy managed to stumble out of the wreck slightly injured, but he was dazed and couldn't process what was going on until the paramedics arrived. But unlucky for Monique, her top half was locked on the steering wheel. The car is crushed around her. She passed away at the scene. Before this incident, he already had 2 traffic citations, one for speeding and one for unsafe start. The Lamborghini was impounded for the second citation, but his father retrieved and returned it to Brendan within 48 hours. After the death of Monique, he was charged with vehicular manslaughter, and again his family settled it with around $18 million. However, the boy went through a deep guilt and wished he was in her place instead. That's where I'd want to end this case. But soon later, he allegedly showed up with a Mario Kart t-shirt and smirked at the camera. On the afternoon of July 4th, 1928, Alfred Lowenstein, one of the richest men in Europe, worth more than $100 million at the time, over $1.7 billion today, was on his way from London to Brussels. Back then, commercial flights didn't exist for most people in the 1920s. Lowenstein's journey involved chauffeurs, rail transfers, and a private aircraft waiting on standby. A Fokker F-7A/3M Trimeter, one of the most expensive private planes of its era. It cost the modern equivalent of over $1.2 million, fitted with a personal lavatory, crew of 6, and interiors better suited for a boardroom than a cockpit. By early evening, the plane cruised smoothly over the English Channel, about 4,000 feet up. The cabin was loud. The air smelled faintly of oil and sea salt. Lowenstein sat back, reviewing papers from his briefcase. He'd been up since dawn, juggling meetings and telegrams, and now fatigue was catching up. He rose from his seat, steadying himself against the vibration of the fuselage. "I'll be back in a moment," he said, and made his way toward the bathroom. Funnily, the designer of that plane decided to put 2 doors face to face at the back. One to the left was the bathroom, and one to the right was the exit of the plane. The 2 looked nearly identical, especially when you're tired and right-handed. In a short moment, the cabin was filled with a violent rush of wind. The crew in the cockpit felt a jolt, but by the time they looked back, Alfred Lowenstein was gone. The lavatory was empty. Below them was open sky and the English Channel. His body was found days later off the French coast. The autopsy revealed that he was alive when he struck, but after about 2 weeks in salt water, the body was severely decomposed, making this one of the most expensive deaths that will not happen again. But it's nothing compared to the next one. A wife is expensive, but it's worthwhile if with the right people. 6. In 2012, a wealthy businessman from Benue State, Nigeria, tried to max out his stat by marrying not 1, but 6 women. Locals said he took pride in it, and often seen as proof that he could handle more than most men could, or so he hoped. One night, after a lively dinner time, he wanted to spend time with his newest wife, in the home they shared with 5 others. While doing so, they heard noises outside of his bedroom door, mixed with metal clanking. Moments later, the door bursted open. The other wives allegedly surrounded him, angry that he was showing favoritism toward the youngest, and demanded equal time. Realizing the situation, he tried to calm them down, but the group reportedly became even more aggressive, insisting he must prove his loyalty immediately. That's an odd request to a person who has more than one spouse. However, no one knows exactly how long it took, but when neighbors arrived after hearing ongoing shouting, it was already over. Not done. Apparently, when the 5th wife was taking her turn to the bed, his body started tweaking and gasping uncontrollably. Before they realized what was going on, he has already stopped breathing. Later, the youngest wife claimed the older wives allegedly fled into the forest. He was declared dead at the scene. Unsurprisingly, this isn't the only case where a boy died from an intense season or similar lifestyle. After all, it goes against what our body meant to take. Remember? Avoid fornication. Let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. One of the biggest status symbols is to lock oneself into a tight metal chunk to go sightseeing. In this case, is to the sky. October 31st, 2014, Mojave Desert, California. Virgin Galactic's Spaceship Two program was funded by billionaire Richard Branson, who promised a new era of space tourism. Each civilian would pay $250,000 per seat to experience a few minutes of weightlessness at the edge of space. That morning, the prototype spacecraft was ready for a powered test flight. On board were pilot Peter Siebold and co-pilot Michael Alsbury. So for those of you who aren't familiar, there is a system inside which rotates the tail of the spacecraft, which is meant to slow them down and land safely. But there's a specific speed you do that at, Mach 1.4. The manual clearly says it, and everyone got it in their head. But Michael, one of the test pilots, unlocks it at Mach 0.8. The entire spacecraft rips apart mid-air. Quick quiz, horizontally or vertically? 2 seconds is exactly how long it took. Michael didn't have time to eject. His body burnt up inside the rocket and exploded. His co-pilot Peter is luckier, if you call it that. The breakup throws him outside, and his parachute deploys normally. The National Transportation Safety Board later concluded that the cause was human error combined with design flaws. And 11 years later, the same idea brought Katy Perry to space.